Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's video is going to be the last video about this snowstorm, as pretty much tomorrow at this time it will be over for much of the United States. Still lingering maybe across portions of Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont, but really for the most part it will be over with. So I just want to provide a few updates. Really, honestly, most of the forecast has remained unchanged, and it has been acting as predicted, the system. So that's always good news. It's always the worst when a system acts as it hasn't been forecasted and the future is uncertain. So honestly, what is forecasted most likely will happen. You know, the amounts will vary a bit though. So if you guys enjoy this video, enjoy these updates, consider subscribing, obviously. Consider checking out the other videos, and if you are a returning viewer, consider liking the video, as that really helps out this channel. Otherwise, let's start talking about this system, and hopefully it will be the last video. So plenty of locations already had their snowfall from the system. Cities like Indianapolis, Cincinnati are already starting to pull away from this snowfall. And honestly, it did pretty much as forecasted for those locations. I was actually pleasantly surprised to see the snowfall reports. They did do a bit overperform in some locations. They underperformed in other locations. For example, you could see in north of Indianapolis, there was even 4 or 5 inch amounts of snow. But generally, as predicted, 1 to 3 inches, with many locations south of Indianapolis closer to that 1 inch amount. Now, again, that wasn't forecasted to be a big event. Really, the worst is yet to come, if you will, or it's already ongoing across Pennsylvania. I'm sure if you're watching from your location and you're across the East Coast where the snow is falling, if you have power, because I know that power outages may become an issue, especially towards as the night wears on, but definitely a powerful event. So tell me in the comments if you guys are experiencing snow. I think I have a webcam right now of New York pulled up. I always do this with cities, especially larger cities where I could actually see. Notice it isn't accumulating on roadways because the temperatures are marginal, right? So of course the salt was dumped everywhere. And it's efficient. It really melts the snow quite well. But notice on like these mailboxes and the roofs of the car, there is snow falling. It's really not that heavy right now, as from what I'm seeing. It's a moderate snow clip, but it obviously will continue to pick up throughout the night. And again, up to a foot of snow is forecasted for these locations. Let's take a glance at the radar. As I mentioned, much of these locations, Indianapolis and portions of Ohio, are done with the heaviest of the snow. Though I wouldn't be surprised if a few locations pick up maybe an additional inch if, some lingering snow showers stick around for a bit while. But again, the impacts from that additional inch shouldn't be much more, especially if you already have 4 or 5 inches lying on the ground. But notice, this thing is really behaving as forecasted. Very bands of heavy snow are just beginning to move into portions of Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, seeing mainly snow. I think they may transition over to rain, though again, that is a bit of a kind of rough guess, because they will be right on the border. Philadelphia, New York will be more consistent with that snowfall. And here's the National Weather Service radar. Notice very heavy bands of rain transitioning over to snow. So I would not be surprised if there will be some thunder snow. There usually is with nor'easters. And while this one isn't a classic nor'easter, it's a bit of a different. It's kind of a hybrid system. It has a lot of convective moisture from the Atlantic and the Gulf. So really, they are beginning to see that very heavy snow. And under those heaviest snowfall bands, some thunder snow is possible. Okay, let's go to New York City and take a look at their radar. Notice they're just beginning to get in on some of that heavier snow. Again, not falling at ridiculous rates. That is mainly occurring further south across New Jersey. But that will obviously spread towards New York City as the night wears on, and probably end sometime tomorrow in the mid-afternoon fully. So notice Pennsylvania State College, Altoona, I'm hopefully pronouncing that right. You could see they're already seeing some decent rates of snow, if not very heavy rates. You could see right there that yellow band. That is most likely, or that is very heavy snow. Possibly maybe a bit of thunder snow at times with that. But again, I haven't had any confirmed reports or haven't looked at any. But I'm sure that it's a possibility, as the National Weather Service said themselves. Alright, let's take a look at the most updated HER model, which goes out to 18 hours. And again, the impressive thing about this system, it's quick and it's occurring quickly, but it will dump a lot of snow. So notice, lots of snow. I mean, a ton of snow across Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. And to be honest, it was actually a bit of a surprise how far the snow got. It got into portions of southern New Jersey. And if you were to take a look at the snowfall reports, there are even a few amounts way down in Newfield, which the National Weather Service yesterday painted with, less than an inch. So they got a bit more, but again, most of that now is going to be starting to transition over to rain if it hasn't already. Now, again, New York, Philadelphia, and eventually Boston are all going to end up seeing that very heavy snow. Let's start playing this through. This is at around, let's count this back. So this is okay. So this is around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, right? This is around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You can see this is what's occurring. Philadelphia again, possibly at around the late evening hours, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, may start flirting with that sleet, which is, again, maybe a bit overrepresented by this HER model, maybe a bit under, we'll have to see. But again, notice further up to the north, New York City, Long Island, seeing very, very gracious amounts of snow, if you will, and really few transitioning areas. But again, right there you can see a bit of that sleet that I think may be underdone. And the good news is this is falling mostly as sleet, which is that purple, not freezing rain. Freezing rain is just rain that freezes on contact because of cold surfaces. But sleet is just these ice balls, which just really hardens to almost a rock-like structure once it falls. So a combination is honestly pretty bad because it just makes a hard/soft snow. But it looks as if Philadelphia may get on some of that, and the HER model is actually showing it and getting pretty far to the north. Again, I don't think the snow will be mixing in that far to the north or with sleet. But notice that this HER model really advertises for that. Even New York City, seeing several hours of sleet. Again, if I were to go with a forecast that I think the National Weather Service also goes by, New York City may see a brief, time slot of sleet mixture, but I don't think that they really should be predominantly sleet for most of this event, which is what the HER model is showing. But again, I mean, they may. I'm not excluding that. These dynamic systems are often hard to predict. But notice further up to the north into northeastern Philadelphia or Pennsylvania into upstate New York, the lighter amounts, but still relatively a good amount of snow, especially considering the ratios of snow will be going up as the cold air is more abundant towards the north. And again, this takes us through at around, well, sorry about the timing. I didn't go through the timing. I will with just a different model. I just wanted to show you the pivotal weather. Let's look at the total snowfall, the Kuchera, which should be the more accurate version. Notice what it still shows, which is a bit throwing off. It shows 18 inches, 16 inches of snow, but it showed that sleet mixing in, which gives us a pretty good idea. That won't be really true, but I mean, look at those amounts right there, possibly 37 inches. Again, possible. I don't really know, to be honest with you. 37 inches is an extreme amount, and the National Weather Service said there may be some amounts over 2 feet, right? But 3 feet is just a bit, I think, too much, in my opinion. But again, this system has been showing early signs of a pretty good formation of bands, and it has been, in fact, maybe a bit overperforming, if not underperforming. So we'll have to see. This is the latest one. Okay, this one goes out to 1 hour. Let's go back to the tropical tidbits where we could actually see the hours with this. Notice this shows us the hours based on a Central Standard Time zone, so you'll just have to add an additional hour for the Northeast. But again, this may not be perfect. This may be a bit delayed or ahead. So generally, this is a good time layout. This is 3 o'clock. This is 4 o'clock. Really 5 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. You notice that the HER model, this is the same model. So it shows, again, that sleet mixing in pretty far to the north, I think, farther than I think it will be. To be honest, it doesn't look as if any other model is showing it that far to the north. And again, still showing very heavy snow. And at around 8 o'clock, this is what it looks like. Almost done. I mean, completely done for Pennsylvania. Almost done for New York, Long Island. And now pushing into Maine and upstate New York, New Hampshire, Vermont. Take a look at these snowfall amounts. Obviously very heavy, the same ones I was just looking at. And let's take a look at the one that goes out to 18 hours or 48 hours, which comes out every 6 hours. Again, this was a bit older, so maybe some things have changed. We're assuming that they haven't. And through the 48 hours, through the length of the system, you can see the HER model really doesn't bring heavy snow into Maine whatsoever. It does bring light snowfall, but again, mostly across Boston, Connecticut, Rhode Island, into southern New York, into much of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and even Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, seeing additional snow. Let's take a look at more models. The NAM 12KM. Notice this is what it shows. More snow for cities like New York City and Boston in general. A bit further through the north and west, though. Again, look at that. Philadelphia possibly seeing additional 9 inches with this system from around this was initiated at around 2 o'clock. So, this could be the biggest system they've seen in a while. If you recall, they saw 3/10 of an inch, I think, last year over the whole season. So they have already made that up, as they already are reporting 2 inches of snowfall. But again, last year was an extreme anomaly. This year is starting off a bit extra, so we're kind of getting to scales of the extremes, right? This is the NAM 12 km. Again, notice a bit more heavier snow into portions of Maine, encroaching on larger cities, Syracuse, Rochester, possibly within that. Really depends. I mean, you can see that cutoff is sharp, so I'd go anywhere from 4 to 7 inches is a fair estimate, especially with the snowfall ratios being higher than what's shown here. This is assuming a 10-to-1, which is accurate for the coastal areas, but not necessarily where the colder air is present, which is the upstate areas, and that makes the forecast a bit tricky. Let's take a look at some other models. The NAM 3km. This is a higher resolution of the NAM 12km. Same family. Notice it has like these fewer or more of these isolated spots of heavier snow. It's high res. So look at that. Philadelphia, possibly in that foot area. So that's interesting to see that it paints that much. New York City, anywhere between, again, a foot, a bit more. Just north, it paints quite a bit more. And it shows the snow a bit further towards the north into upstate New York, almost pushing towards Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. Now, let's take a glance at some other models. So there are plenty of models. We have to look at the RGEM, right? This is the 18Z RGEM. And this is what it shows. Notice, generally, again, the same. It shows a bit more of a sharp cutoff across Philadelphia, New York City, consistent snow, Providence, Hartford, Boston, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine, West Virginia, Ohio, Maryland. Again, the general amounts of snow that have been resonated through much of the other forecast models. Notice, there will be a sharp cutoff anywhere from northern Delaware to I guess, central Maryland, if you will. It depends on how you want to look at it. And into Virginia and West Virginia. So again, a sharp cutoff will make this system a bit harder to forecast. Though let's take a look at some global models now. The GFS has done a pretty good job with this system, though. Actually, I take that back. It's done a pretty poor job. I was thinking of the GFS Parallel. Definitely the poorest of all the models, though it really agrees with what most of the models are showing. Pretty high snow. Really brings it up towards upstate New York right there. It doesn't bring much into Maine, and generally, again, consistent amounts of 3 to 5 into Ohio, West Virginia, and Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, mainly done with this system, right? But, again, still potentially up to an inch in some locations. Let's take a glance at the Canadian. This is a model that has done better than the GFS in my opinion. Notice what it does show that's a bit interesting is a sharper cutoff across Philadelphia, though again still showing 4 to 6 inches generally through the city. New York City, again, Boston, those large cities, Concord even seeing, obviously that heavy snow, Albany, Scranton, Reading, I think it's pronounced Reading, and into State College, Erie, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh may be one of those cities that's also between the moderate snow to heavy snow amounts. We'll have to see how the system progresses, and unfortunately that's kind of impossible to predict exactly. But let's take a glance now at some of the National Weather Service offices, and let's see what they have to show, right? So State College, Pennsylvania, obviously one of the, central Pennsylvania, maybe one of the hardest hit areas, or just a bit south and east of there. They have special weather statements most likely issuing with heavy snow bands, which will be, again, ongoing throughout much of the night. Notice, heavy snow right now. That takes a lot in order to the National Weather Service to put out heavy snow. Most likely 1 inch to 2 inches an hour. And look at that. State College 12 to 18, really increasing 18 to 24. And this is expected of snowfall. And if it overperforms, we could be looking at, up to 24 plus. And as you saw right there, there could be 2 to 4 inches an hour, and this is the onset, which it already has done so. It has already onset pretty nicely as forecasted. Taking a look, say, towards Pittsburgh or Cleveland. Let's see if we could. Okay, there we go. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, their office, again, also seeing pretty heavy snow just west of the city as of right now, which will move in towards the city. This is the forecasted snowfall. A sharp cutoff, but Pittsburgh 6 to 8, Indiana, 8 to 12, and then we have Uniontown 8 to 12, but a quick cutoff into New Philadelphia 3 to 4, Cambridge 3 to 4. Still more gradual than what we could see across the coastal areas. Now, again, as I say right now, as of recording this, as of 4:04 or 5:04 Eastern time, very heavy snow just west of the city, which could again continue moving in towards the city. Let's go back out to the general radar and see what some other weather offices are showing. Let's take a look at portions of West Virginia. Let's take a glance at Charleston. Charleston was a city that was kind of on that border. They were initially under a winter storm watch, then they were in a winter weather advisory, and now they are seeing rain, and that is rain. But I think they still have the potential to see some snow according to some models. But notice, I mean, the drop-off is quick. You could see portions of the northeastern corner of the state, 14 plus, and then Charleston less than 1, but again, just a bit of a southwestward shift, or just even one snow band could bring in several inches of snow. I don't think that will be the case, but it's always a possibility, so keep your eyes for that. And even in less than 1 inch of snow is still a travel hazard. It just looks very puny when you're looking at 18 to 24 inch amounts just a bit further towards the north and west. But, you know, that's not really a travel hazard, and those are just, that makes travel impossible, 18 to 24 inches, or at least temporarily. And let's take a glance now further up north at locations like, say, Burlington, Vermont, or I wanted to see if I could see Binghamton yet. This is the one I wanted to look at, as they may be, again, they have winter storm warnings, a pretty sharp cutoff. They say you could see northern Finger Lakes to may see a sharp cutoff. So Syracuse 4 to 6, right, but quickly increasing as we go towards Cortland, Ithaca, and into Binghamton, Deposits, Delhi. 12 to 18, and getting towards the 18 to 24 inch amounts. And again, significant snowfall. That's just what I've been saying this whole video, and I will continue to, as that seems to be the case. Boston, Massachusetts. Let's take a glance at your location, as they are again one of those locations that could see pretty heavy snow. And if you recall, just even a couple days ago, they were not expected to see this snowfall. And let's take a look at this expected snow. You can see widespread over a foot of snow. Even portions of Cape Cod could be seeing snow, 3 to 5 inches. Extreme, Nantucket most likely seeing mainly rain, so you could see 0. They kind of miss out on this system. It's not really a coastal one, or a extreme coastal system, but again, that may happen later on in the season. New York City, let's take a glance at your location. Notice they're seeing light snow right now, and if you were to go back to the it's picked up a bit in intensity for sure, and it will continue to do so. Again, they're forecasted around the same what Boston has, around a foot of snow, if not more, again, on how this behaves. Mount Holly, New Jersey, so really the Philadelphia area, seeing right now moderate snowfall rates, and look at that. This is the area of insanity. I mean, look, Philadelphia, 6 to 8 expected snowfall rate, and in Bedford, just a few miles, 10, 20 miles to the east, less than 1 inch. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous in terms of the gradient. And if this just shifts a bit further towards the north, it's going to be seeming like a huge upset for, Philadelphia, Trenton. But in meteorological terms, it's not going to be that much of a shift. So, again, be prepared. And you may get towards the 8 to 12, even 12 to 18 inch mark, Philadelphia, if things go as occurring. Or, if things go more towards your way, if you will, with the heavier snowfall. So, again, lots of snow, and I know that this video may be a bit packed, but in future videos, there doesn't seem to be any storm in the next few days that's as significant, so we'll take a bit of a break in terms of these intense, long videos. And I wanted to take a look at just the NAM 12KM model, but look at the whole entire United States to go over briefly portions of the West, not just include, the East in my forecasts. So again, obviously that big storm pulling away. Notice still showing snow across Ohio, Michigan, Indiana. The NAM 12KM may be overdoing some of this, but again, still I would say 1 to 2 inches is possible, especially the further, obviously, east you go into Indiana and Ohio. Eastern Ohio, bordering Pennsylvania, more snow, maybe even 4 to 6. We have a big storm that has been kind of, overshadowed by this one over here, but lots of precip moving on to the west. Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Northern California seeing gracious amounts of rain and snow to the higher elevations. This slides down to the Sierra Nevada. Not a blockbuster event, but definitely up to 2 feet of snow, possibly for the Sierra. Pushes into areas like Wyoming, the Grand Tetons, into Utah, the Salt Lake City, seeing some snow into Friday, late Thursday into Friday overnight. And notice still a bit of showers occurring across the Midwest, but again, nothing significant compared to what we've been seeing. This then develops a cold front across the North Woods, Minnesota, into the Arrowhead maybe a bit of snow with that. We'll have to see. There's quite a bit of disagreements with this system that could be occurring on Saturday and Sunday. Maybe some snow for the even areas like Chicago, but the models have been honestly all over the place. And a cold front dragging through southern Canada. And notice that this has shifted further towards the south into Indiana, but notice we have another system coming through. Just to give you an example, the latest, or the one prior to this, NAM showed more snow towards the north, and one prior to that did a similar event. So it's really recent that now they're showing the snow further towards the south. But again, it's been a bit inconsistent with the models. If we were to take a look at the RGEM for the 18Z, it's showing more of that forecast it was showing earlier. It's going to be interesting. Again, this is not significant, right? Mainly rain for a good portion of these locations. But during the day, we might get some rain mixing in, some snow. We'll see. In general, obviously, the heavy snow amounts will be the east and the west, where you can see the heavy snow off the lakes right there, or off the ocean. That big storm and a bit of snow possibly from that system. Otherwise, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Again, there's a long night ahead of you guys that are on the northeast coast. A lot of rain, and for those seeing the rain, a lot of snow, a lot of wind for the coastal area. So definitely a significant winter storm. And if this were just to load, we would see the scope of this. But for some reason, it's not loading, which is a bit weird. But I guess there we go. All right, so that's basically it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.